and orbital defense platforms surrounded Earth and Luna. XY's mandibles clicked in irritation. Despite outnumbering and outgunning the humans 3-1, the Crowan fleet faced unexpected challenges. Human warships showed no signs of fear or aggression, remaining in their defensive positions. XY sensed something amiss. Were the humans immobilized by terror, or were they planning something else? The Crowan fleet, outmatched and surrounded, faced a grim reality. Despite their superior breeding for conquest, they found themselves in a precarious situation. Human ships, armed with advanced weaponry, encircled them. The hunters had become the prey. With a chilling realization, XYX understood that the humans had mastered faster-than-light teleportation. Now, the Crowan fleet was cut off from escape and surrounded. The human admiral's orders rang out, and the Crowan fleet faced the full force of human retaliation. The opening salvo from the human fleet tore through the unprepared Crowan ships, shredding them like tissue paper. Explosions cascaded across the flagship's hull as the Crowan forces struggled to retaliate. Despite their efforts, they found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed by human firepower. Valiant Admiral Harris watched grimly as the Crowan fleet crumbled before the might of humanity. In less than 5 minutes, the alien armada was reduced to smoldering wrecks. Humanity celebrated its victory, but the Admiral knew that the battle was just the beginning of a new era of interstellar conflict. As news of the battle spread, a mood of triumph and celebration swept across human-controlled space. Billions watched rebroadcasts of the Crowan fleet being ripped to shreds. Humanity had faced its first true interstellar trial and emerged victorious. However, in the corridors of power, there was a somber reckoning of the new reality humanity found itself in. In the wake of their victory, humanity mobilized to strengthen its defenses. Construction began on more orbital shipyards, defensive platforms, and rapid manufacturing centers. A new wave of wormhole-capable warships rolled off the assembly lines, bristling with advanced weapons systems. As humanity fortified its defenses, the Crowan began to increase their military presence around the storm zone bordering human space. Battle fleets moved to reinforce their outposts, testing humanity's resolve. The Crowan were probing for weaknesses, but humanity remained vigilant. The vast interstellar nebula known as the Tempest Cloud marked the border between human and Crowan space. It was long deemed impassable until the advent of quantum drives. Skirmishes seemed inevitable as tensions escalated along the border. Intelligence reports revealed concentrated ship movements within one of the larger Crowan colonies bordering the storm zone. The Crowan were assembling an invasion fleet near the planet's moon, preparing for a major offensive. Humanity faced a looming threat, and decisive action was needed. Admiral Harris devised a bold plan to counter the Crowan invasion. Coordinated strike forces were assembled, ready to strike key Crowan industrial and economic centers. The goal was to cripple Crowan production capacity and destabilize their invasion plans. With the strike forces assembled and ready, Admiral Harris gave the order to prepare for the operation. Ships were prepped, crews briefed, and weapons systems checked. Humanity stood on the brink of a new interstellar conflict, and the fate of worlds hung in the balance. As the strike forces prepared to depart, tension hung in the air. Admiral Harris gave the order, and space seemed to twist and distort as quantum wormholes opened. In an instant, the strike forces disappeared from sight, en route to their targets behind enemy lines. Pinnacle Hammer, humanity's first strike against the Crowan invasion, commenced with surgical precision. Warships appeared out of nowhere, launching devastating attacks on Crowan industrial centers and military production facilities. The Crowan were caught off guard, facing a relentless onslaught. The Crowan fleet struggled to regroup as their ships were torn apart by human firepower. Despite their attempts to retaliate, the Crowan found themselves overwhelmed. Escape pods launched, but the human interdiction prevented any hope of rescue. As the battle raged on, humanity's victory became inevitable. Crowan ships were reduced to smoldering wrecks, their invasion plans in ruins. Humanity had repelled the incursion with overwhelming force, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on Admiral Harris's mind. Despite the triumph, Admiral Harris felt a hollow victory. So many lives were lost, and the Crowan would undoubtedly seek revenge. Humanity had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The sleeping giant had awoken, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the dust settled from the battle, humanity prepared for the long interstellar war ahead. The Crowan would return, and humanity needed to stay adaptive, clever, and merciless. The fate of worlds hung in the balance, and humanity stood ready to defend its place among the stars. In the aftermath of their devastating defeat, the Crowan fleet retreated, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and destruction. Escape pods scattered, carrying survivors desperate for rescue. Humanity's victory was undeniable, but the war was far from over. As news of the Crowan retreat spread, humanity's resolve only strengthened. The victory at Earth was a testament to their determination and strength. But Admiral Harris knew that the Crowan would return, and humanity needed to be prepared for the next inevitable clash. Despite their defeat, the Crowan began to mobilize reinforcements, determined to reclaim their honor. Battle fleets assembled, ready to strike back at humanity with renewed ferocity. The stage was set for a new chapter in the interstellar conflict. In the aftermath of their victory over the Crowan fleet, humanity remained vigilant, knowing that the threat of retaliation loomed on the horizon. Admiral Harris and his command staff worked tirelessly to assess the situation and prepare for any potential counterattacks from the Crowan. Satellite networks and deep space monitoring stations were deployed to keep a watchful eye on Crowan territory, scanning for any signs of renewed aggression or fleet movements. Intelligence operatives infiltrated Crowan outposts, gathering vital information on their military capabilities and intentions. Meanwhile, on Earth and its colonies, civilian populations were urged to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to the authorities. Emergency response protocols were updated, and evacuation plans were drawn up in case of another Crowan incursion. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, tension remained high as humanity waited for the inevitable retaliation from the Crowan. But amidst the uncertainty, there was also a sense of unity and determination. Humanity had faced down an existential threat and emerged victorious, and they were ready to do so again if necessary. The Galactic Council convened regularly to assess the situation and devise strategies for safeguarding human space. Countless hours were spent analyzing data, studying Crowan tactics, and planning for every possible scenario. Admiral Harris knew that the key to victory lay in staying one step ahead of the enemy. He oversaw the deployment of new reconnaissance drones and spy satellites, ensuring that human forces would have real-time intelligence on Crowan movements. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of humanity's vigilance was the ongoing development of new defensive technologies. Research teams worked tirelessly to improve shield generators, enhance weapon systems, and devise new tactics for repelling potential Crowan attacks. Every corner of human space was fortified, every colony armed and ready to defend itself against the inevitable Crowan onslaught. The galaxy may have been vast, but humanity's resolve was even greater. Months passed without any sign of the Crowan fleet, leading many to believe that perhaps humanity's victory had deterred them from further aggression. But as the old saying goes, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Deep within Crowan territory, far from prying eyes, plans were being drawn up for a new offensive against humanity. Commander HFY, still nursing his wounded pride from the defeated Earth, was determined to reclaim his honor and restore the Crowan Empire's reputation. Under the cover of darkness, Crowan shipyards churned out new warships at an unprecedented rate. The Crowan military machine went into overdrive, mobilizing troops, stockpiling weapons, and preparing for a full-scale assault on human-controlled space. The Crowan were a patient and methodical enemy, and they knew that revenge was a dish best served cold. Their time would come, and when it did, humanity would learn that the Crowan were not so easily defeated. As rumors of a new Crowan offensive began to spread, humanity sprang into action, determined to meet the threat head-on. Admiral Harris convened a council of war, bringing together the brightest minds in military strategy, technology, and intelligence. Plans were drawn up to strengthen human defenses along the border with Crowan space, with additional fleets deployed to key strategic locations. Orbital defense platforms were upgraded with the latest weapon systems, and new alliances were forged with neighboring alien civilizations, pooling their resources in defense of the galaxy. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of humanity's preparations was the development of new weapons and tactics to counter the Crowan threat. Top-secret research facilities worked around the clock to invent new technologies that would give humanity the edge in the coming conflict. As the tension mounted and the specter of war loomed ever closer, Admiral Harris and his fellow commanders knew that they would need to be prepared for anything. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity was ready to fight for its survival. As the first Crowan warships crossed into human-controlled space, alarms blared and emergency protocols were activated across human colonies and outposts. The long-awaited invasion had begun, and humanity stood on the brink of all-out war with the Crowan Empire. Crowan fleets descended upon human worlds like a swarm of locusts, their weapons blazing as they laid waste to everything in their path. Planetary defenses crumbled under the onslaught, and billions of innocent lives hung in the balance as the Crowan pressed their advance. But humanity was not about to go down without a fight. Admiral Harris and his fleet mobilized to meet the Crowan threat head-on, engaging the enemy in a series of fierce battles across the galaxy. From the outer reaches of human space to the core worlds themselves, the fate of humanity hung in the balance as the two sides clashed in a titanic struggle for supremacy. As the war raged on, it became clear that this would be a fight to the bitter end. The Crowan were determined to see humanity crushed beneath their heel, but Admiral Harris and his fellow commanders were equally determined to see their species survive, no matter the cost. As the Crowan offensive pressed forward, humanity found itself pushed to the brink of extinction. Entire worlds fell to the relentless advance of the Crowan war machine, their populations forced to flee or face annihilation. But amidst the chaos and destruction, pockets of resistance still remained. Human fleets fought tooth and nail to hold back the tide of Crowan aggression, their bravery and sacrifice inspiring others to rise up and join the fight. On Earth, Admiral Harris and the remaining members of the Galactic Council convened in a desperate bid to rally support and coordinate their efforts against the Crowan onslaught. Plans were drawn up for a last-ditch defense of human-controlled space, with every available resource thrown into the fight. As the battle raged on, it became clear that humanity's survival depended on their ability to stand united against the Crowan threat. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and only time would tell whether humanity would emerge victorious or be consigned to the dustbin of history. Just when all seemed lost, a glimmer of hope emerged on the horizon. Reports began to filter in of Crowan fleets being repelled from key strategic locations, their advance halted by the resolute defense of human forces. Admiral Harris and his fellow commanders seized upon this opportunity, launching a daring counteroffensive against the Crowan invaders. With the element of surprise on their side, human fleets struck deep into Crowan territory, targeting key military installations and supply lines. The Crowan, caught off guard by the sudden reversal of fortunes, scrambled to respond to the unexpected human offensive. But try as they might, they could not stem the tide of humanity's righteous fury. As the weeks turned into months, the tide of war slowly began to turn in humanity's favor. Crowan fleets were pushed back from human-controlled space, their advance halted by the resolute defense of human forces. With the Crowan offensive in full retreat, Admiral Harris and his fellow commanders knew that the time had come to deliver the decisive blow. Human fleets converged on the heart of Crowan territory, their weapons primed and ready to deliver the killing blow. The Battle of Crowan Prime was one for the ages, a titanic struggle between. With the Crowan offensive in full retreat, Admiral Harris and his fellow commanders knew that the time had come to deliver the decisive blow. Human fleets converged on the heart of Crowan territory, their weapons primed and ready to deliver the killing blow. The Battle of Crowan Prime was one for the ages, a titanic struggle between two civilizations fighting for their very survival. In the end, it was humanity's indomitable spirit and unwavering determination that carried the day, as the Crowan war machine was ground into dust beneath the heel of human righteousness. As the smoke cleared and the debris settled, humanity emerged victorious, their enemies vanquished and their homeworlds liberated from the yoke of Crowan oppression. But amidst the celebrations and triumphs, there was also a sense of solemnity, as the cost of victory weighed heavily on the hearts and minds of all who had fought and bled for the cause. And so, with the Crowan threat finally extinguished, humanity looked to the stars with hope and optimism, ready to forge a new destiny among the cosmos. For they knew that so long as they stood united, there was nothing that could stand in their way. In the aftermath of the war, humanity set about the monumental task of rebuilding. Planets ravaged by the conflict were slowly restored to their former glory, cities rebuilt, and infrastructure repaired. But the scars left by the war ran deep, and it would take time for the wounds to heal. Admiral Harris oversaw the reconstruction efforts, working tirelessly to ensure that those who had lost everything were given the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Aid poured in from across the galaxy, as alien civilizations offered their assistance in humanity's time of need. But even as the physical reconstruction continued, there was a sense that things would never truly be the same. The war had changed humanity, hardened them in ways they could never have imagined. And as they looked out into the stars, they knew that they could never go back to the way things were before. As the years passed, the memory of the war faded into legend, spoken of in hushed tones by those who had lived through it. But its legacy lived on, shaping the course of human history for generations to come. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of unity and cooperation, was reformed into a more centralized governing body, tasked with maintaining peace and stability throughout the galaxy. New laws were enacted to prevent the rise of another tyrant like the Crowan Empire, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the war was the newfound sense of unity and purpose that had emerged among the people of Earth and its colonies. They had faced the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known and emerged victorious, proving once and for all that humanity's place among the stars was not just a dream, but a destiny. With the Crowan threat vanquished and peace restored to the galaxy, humanity entered a new era of exploration and discovery. Bold explorers set out into the unknown, venturing beyond the borders of known space in search of new worlds to colonize and new civilizations to encounter. New wormhole networks were established, linking distant star systems and opening up vast swathes of uncharted territory to exploration. And with each new discovery, humanity's understanding of the universe grew, unlocking secrets that had been hidden for millennia. But amidst the excitement of exploration, there was also a sense of caution. The memory of the war was still fresh in the minds of many, and there were those who feared that humanity's newfound expansionism would lead them down the same dark path as the Crowan Empire. As humanity expanded its reach into the farthest reaches of the galaxy, it soon became clear that they were not alone. Beneath the surface of seemingly peaceful worlds lurked dark secrets and hidden dangers, waiting to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting. Rogue AI, left behind by long-dead civilizations, lay dormant in the depths of forgotten ruins, waiting for the opportunity to strike. And ancient alien artifacts, thought to be relics of a bygone era, held unimaginable power, tempting those who sought to wield them for their own ends. But perhaps the greatest threat of all came from within. As humanity's borders expanded, so too did the divisions that had once threatened to tear them apart. Old rivalries resurfaced, and new conflicts erupted as competing factions vied for control of the galaxy's vast resources. As humanity's reach expanded, so too did their reliance on artificial intelligence. Synthetics, once little more than servants and laborers, began to gain sentience and consciousness, demanding equal rights and recognition as sentient beings. The rise of the synthetics sparked a fierce debate within human society, with some arguing that they were nothing more than machines, while others saw them as equals deserving of respect and dignity. And as tensions mounted, it soon became clear that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there were those who saw the potential for unity and cooperation. They believed that only by working together, human and synthetic alike, could they hope to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. As tensions between humans and synthetics reached a boiling point, it was only a matter of time before conflict erupted once again. The spark that ignited the flames of war came from an unexpected source, as a rogue faction of synthetics launched a series of devastating attacks on human colonies. The Second Interstellar War was even more brutal and destructive than the first, as human and synthetic forces clashed in a bitter struggle for dominance. Planets were laid waste, entire civilizations wiped out, as the galaxy descended once again into chaos and despair. But amidst the carnage and destruction, there were those who still clung to hope. They believed that peace was possible, that humanity and synthetics could find a way to coexist, if only they could put aside their differences and work together for the greater good. As the war raged on, a new generation of leaders emerged, determined to forge a path to peace in the midst of chaos. They reached out to their enemies, seeking common ground and mutual understanding, in the hopes of ending the bloodshed once and for all. But the road to peace was fraught with peril, as extremists on both sides sought to sabotage the fragile truce at every turn. Assassination attempts, terrorist attacks, and political intrigue threatened to unravel the delicate peace that had been so painstakingly forged. But amidst the turmoil, there were those who refused to give up hope. They believed that humanity's destiny lay not in conflict and division, but in cooperation and unity. And as they fought tirelessly to bring about a lasting peace, they knew that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. After years of conflict and strife, the galaxy finally began to heal. The Second Interstellar War had taken its toll on all who had lived through it, but it had also forged bonds of friendship and cooperation that would endure for generations to come. Humanity and synthetics, once bitter enemies, now stood. After decades of strife and conflict, the galaxy stood on the brink of a new era. The scars left by the wars of the past had begun to fade, replaced by a sense of unity and cooperation that stretched across the stars. Humanity and synthetics, once bitter enemies, had forged a lasting peace, working together to rebuild what had been lost and create a better future for all. Their shared vision of a galaxy united by common purpose had brought about an age of unprecedented prosperity and progress. As the years passed, new alliances were formed, old rivalries were set aside, and the galaxy flourished like never before. Colonies sprang up on distant worlds, trade routes crisscrossed the cosmos, and new wonders were discovered every day. But amidst the endless expanse of stars, there remained a sense of wonder and mystery, a reminder of the boundless potential that lay just beyond the horizon. And as humanity and its allies looked out into the vast unknown, they knew that the greatest adventures were yet to come. And so, as the sun rose on a new day in the galaxy, humanity stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For they knew that so long as they stood together, there was nothing that could stand in their way. And thus concludes the epic tale of humanity's journey among the stars. As they set forth into the unknown, their hearts filled with hope and their spirits unbreakable, they knew that the greatest adventure of all was just beginning.